leave up everything OP to try and see how it goes. That could maybe be an option, but we're going to jump in here. The LeBlanc gets banned away, but this time TT are saying, look, the Draven was too much of an issue for us. That is what we're thinking is going to be the problem, and the Cassante, so they want RA to play a completely different comp.
Yeah, but it's also just like, I don't know how as TT you don't have like the confidence or, you know, you don't feel comfortable playing these. Hoya's most played champion this split is Cassante, 9 games. It is a 22% win rate, but like across the board, TT have been losing. So like I don't feel like win rates tell us very much on how comfortable they are on the champions. And Ashin, it looks like they're gonna do it. It looks like
this.
You were right. They're gonna keep the mid lane bans. The question is, do they go with the Nico ban, which I feel like is what you would still expect to go through, or do they stick with the Azir? I'm more of a fan of banning out the Nico and just say, hey, you know, TT, we know you're comfortable on the Azir, but it's like, oh my god, TT. How do you have to ban Nico Cassante on blue?
Ban Azir. And ban Azir. Like,
Vi's also on the cards.
Actually, you know what? You are right. Maybe they could ban the Vi and then let the Azir go through, and you just go for the Ahri Wukong like on red 1-2. Like that feels like the combination. No, they're gonna go with the Renekton. So leaving up the Azir, leaving up the Vi, and kind of saying, look, we're happy for you guys to kind of first pick what you want. And honestly, RA kind of mind controlling TT right there and kind of saying like, look, you know, all these OPs, you got to start banning them, and they've honestly kind of banned them so far in this particular one. And TT
and they
hovering this, they have to go for this.
It's actually, and right, this really gives the answer to, right, I've been saying all split long, in my mind, the drop-off for TT has been the meta change. It hasn't just been, you don't just magically get worse overnight. It's not how it works. But we haven't, it's kind of hard to confirm if the meta really is what's kind of shafting your team. With this, with being on blue side, having to ban Cassante Nico and first pick in Azir, I think it kind of does show that the TT do not feel comfortable whatsoever. Now the Ahri going to be picked up for Strive once again. We talked about really has been his most comfortable champion, and I am surprised that they do not go towards that Vi pick for themselves and you know, give Luyen guaranteed access onto the Azir. We haven't seen him like opt into the Vi all too much. It's also a champion that hasn't been open that frequently. So it just seems like really good game planning for RA, especially if TT don't even pick the Vi away themselves. So it means you have lost nothing by having to ban away none of the S tier champions on the patch, and you've once again gained what is like your strongest pairing.
Yeah, I mean, you're going with the Poppy again. I like it in you know, kind of essence. I like the fact that it can have a very powerful kind of, you know, stopping power against the Wukong and the Ahri. We didn't see it game 1. We just did not see Beishuan being, you know, kind of putting up that steadfast presence to deny an escape or to deny someone from like the Wukong from going forward. TT going to go back towards that Aphelios. Look, 1xN, I believe that you can do the damage in this game, and they are going to try and go full late game with this one here. But RA, they've kind of had themselves, you know, they've stuck to this script, I should say, where they're kind of saying, look, we don't need to focus on our bot lane as much, where we trust in Asim and Feather to be able to pick up the scraps. We can get ourselves a better top side, and they're going to start putting in bans now into the top lane again.
I do gotta say, at least coming out of the first phase, I am happier with what TT have been able to string together than in game 1, because at least there's like a very cohesive identity with their picks, right? Now it is about disengage. Now it is about zone control with the Azir and the Poppy and not allowing for entry into these team fights. And you shouldn't even have as glaring of early game dominance with things like the Draven being taken off the board. Now, you know, Varus also gonna follow suit, so RA, I have enough faith in them, especially with how proactive Strive was in game 1 and how proactive he's shown he can be, not only this split, but just in his LPL tenure so far. But it at least shows that if RA misstep like they did in game 1, or aren't able to pull the trigger as hard without such a domineering bot lane, that TT will have magnificent 5v5s later on.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Even just right now, you can see just like the power and the presence. We've seen, you know, Shanks of recent date having the Azir and popping off absolutely exponentially. The Millia will be banned away. I'm delighted to see that there, but the Xayah, the Rakan, the, you know, the Kaisa, which we're now seeing now, like, I mean, this could just straight up be like a, you know, a plethora of options available here. I would actually like to see a Rakan maybe picked up here for RA, just to give Feather, one, it's something he's incredibly comfortable with, and a little bit of extra engage with that Wukong. But no, Jinx.
Yeah, so they're going to opt into at least having some answers to be able to contend in 5v5s if the game does go later on. Right now, pretty stock and standard coming out from them. Now for TT, we're going to need to see where the bot lane wants to go for them. I wouldn't even mind if they were ones to opt into something like a Rakan, even still Nautilus on the board. Right now, hovering the Heimer, I don't think it really fit their comp, so I don't expect it to come through. Get some engage. So not only do you have like zone control and like peel and all that stuff, if you get to a favorable position, you have tools to start fights, and more importantly, the turn, right? If you want to try to bait a Dragon or bait a Baron, you always need that ability to find the engage if the enemy team is still alive, but you still want to push the cogs of the game forward. So now for TT, Gnar would be a decently safe, you know, he's going to do fine in lane, at least gives you some options to be able to play out through sides, or even just contend with the team fights. So I think for TT, again, very cohesive draft, makes sense on paper, works very well together. To where now for RA, I think getting more engaged, when there's no way you're going to be able to contend with TT, I think in longer drawn-out skirmishes later on in the game makes sense. And I do expect the original pick you wanted to go through, Ashin.
Or do we get the re-updated Rel? So, getting more hard engage. I actually don't mind this at all. I think that anything that can kind of follow up with things like the Wukong are definitely things that will help you, dictate the team fights. So, Rel fits right into that bucket list of like, help engage, gets yourself set up, and keeps everyone clumped together.
I do have one concern that I think Rel can be incredibly strong against compositions where you have an easy time getting on top of. So like lower or even mid-range compositions, because then your ult's so strong and like a lot of your ranges aren't actually incredibly high. To where you are going up against an Azir and a Poppy, it feels like it should be pretty hard to actually make Rel work as effectively as she can. But at the same time, right? If it's the Wukong actually starting things off, he's buying space and kind of allowing for an access point for the Rel to enter, it still can work, even if not the most optimal. So we're going to see how Feather does here. Rel definitely, since the changes, comes in with like a lot more damage and even like a lot more ability to lock multiple people down, especially with now your stun being on your Q. So we're going to see. We know for the side of RA, they're going to want to be a bit more aggressive. I think it's going to be a lot on the shoulders of Strive. So for TT, they can relax, chill out a little bit. And as long as they're getting defensive vision down and having Beichuan cover their lanes, they should be fine going into mid-game.
Yeah, I will see what they're able to kind of work with right now. But again, like you mentioned earlier on, this is such a massive late game 5v5 team comp from TT. I much prefer this draft. I much prefer that they kind of went and prioritized this. We'll see if it does end up leading them to a win. They are 0-1 down. It was RA coming in and kind of smacking them down. There was some moments of life, a little flickers of flame from the side of TT, specifically 1XN. But whether or not that's going to stick is neither here nor there. We're in a new game. We're on a new set of champions. We're jumping in to see Xiaoshu kind of putting Hoya a little bit further back and a little bit further down to make sure he gets a decent time on the river.
Look, Xiaoshu knew that Hoya was trying to push him out of the ideal fishing location. It's where you get like all the like, gold and what's the highest tier of fish in Stardew? I know it's like the purple color, but I actually don't know what it's called. But the point is, he's trying to go for
started recently. I should know this.
He's trying to go for all those high tier fish, right? And Hoya was in his spot, but now there's Xiaoshu is chilling. Sadly, the observer's not panning over him, so we don't know. We don't know if he's actually like hitting his reps well and actually getting that gold in. And that's really all I care about at this level.
Iridium level fish. So you can get normal silver gold or iridium, which is the purple star.
I do have Sims. I have way too many hours on all of them. I have like 90 hours on Stardew, maybe like 50 on Coral Island, a good amount on Sunhaven. In my mind, it's like the perfect adjacent is 1XN.
Ooh. I mean, good flash from 1XN. Does not get hit by the crash down.
No farm sims anymore, Ashin.
No more farming sims. Only action. We were trying to manifest action by talking about farming sims in the game, but I mean, this is the kind of thing I was talking about. Like, the power that a Rel has, especially early on, even into a Nautilus. You got to see 1XN, like, trading flash for flash on a support to an 80 carry, always worth.
Yeah, and, I like that you point that out, right? Because even though a lot of the issues that I highlighted happen later on into the game, when, like, things like the Poppy and Azir are involved, in the laning phase, those won't be an issue at all. So, definitely going to have a lot of freedom, especially now with 1XN not having a flash available, to look to, bring Luyen down and try to punish us. So we do see that Luyen is actually passing down towards that bot side. You have wards covering your top lane, so it should be a lot about this 2v2 and the potential 3v3s that we're about to see in bot.
Xiaoshu is putting in some serious work here on the top side right now, kind of keeping Hoya very, very honest. And Until he hits that Mega to get that little burst of speed, or burst of health back into himself, he's going to be feeling very, very exposed. You can see it in the kind of the CS already. He's already falling down 6 or 7, and that is just, again, Xiaoshu kind of owning this lane, understanding that early on he is going to be the one who could be the aggressor.
Yeah, for Hoya, a lot about kind of tethering, playing off that boomerang range to be able to contend in the matchup. And then you have a better, you have some better trading patterns once you are in that Mega form, which he's close to. But the fact that he's already been chunked out a little bit, and of course, wave advantage in Xiaoshu's favor means he's not going to want to go for anything just yet. But I think we're seeing a nice pace set by RA with how we've sold the goals of these compositions. RA finding advantage in top, finding an advantage in bot, and they will be able to keep Prio in mid, at least until Azir gets, a few more levels under his belt.
Yeah, we are seeing now the little bit of a range discrepancy. It's why you do go the corrupting pot for the Ahri at these early levels. You kind of know that you're just not really in a position to kind of fight. And boy, yeah, feel like if he maybe went aggressive there, Xiaoshu could have been in a position to at least burn a flash, but holds his nerve for the moment. And now, wait to see where these junglers really want to focus. We are seeing the Poppy moving down towards this bot side. It is pushing in against TT. If he's looking for a good hook, maybe onto Feather, because again, Feather, very, very squishy without that flash available. Does not land the crash down. Actually, funny enough, I think Yao would have preferred if he hit it.
Yeah, I think he would have been a little bit happier had he been able to go through with that one. But kind of taking stock of where we're at in the early game, we kind of talked about RA were already the ones at least up in some of their lanes. I also really want to hone in on the vision control that they've got, because earlier it was just around top side. Now, also in complete vision control in bot lane. You had a call start on Assume with the Jinx, and he's already getting that one going. So you're going to have a nice injection of gold a little bit later on. So it's kind of nice to see RA. I guess it's hard to know if it's just going up against another weaker team like TT, or if it was the adjustments coming out from their last series, because they did push EDG to 3 games, weren't able to take that one. Before that series, they 2-0'd IG, but I think so far they're looking a lot more stable, and even just the eye test of how they're playing the map so far looks so good.
Ooh, I love this rotation coming in from Feather. Seeing if we can maybe get something on the Hoya, who does have his flash and his hop, so it'll be difficult to really get much else out of this one here. Yep, there's the flash coming in. Must not have had the hop back on top of it, but you just didn't need to walk backwards. There was no need for that Hoya, and Xiaoshu punishes accordingly.
Xiaoshu, ready for it. Mistake does come through, but you need the killer instinct from Xiaoshu there to be able to capitalize and get that kill going. And I mean, great to see. You don't see too many like top lane roams from support anymore. It was like that. Plays like that to me are very reminiscent of like Xiao top on RNG, Ming doing that consistently. And yeah, it's great to see RA kind of be able to add that into their arsenal with how this bot lane 2v2 is going, knowing, Assume being on a recall, walking back to lane and won't be under any threat. And we're getting a replay of how it happens, kind of going with that roam that we were just highlighting. Things look all right for Hoya at first. Sure, he's going to have to burn the flash because it is a coordinated 3-man gank, but he looked like he should have been able to get away just fine. But it's right here, walking back, trying to get that boomerang in and just tether that at least bit of return damage. Wouldn't have meant anything, but it would have at least made Hoya feel better. And now he just feels worse. Feels horrible.
It feels Hoya, but no.
No, you're not Munchables.
I'm not. I can't make those ones work as well as he does. He is the king of those kind of setups.
He is like, I love how every region does have a bit of a bad pun master. I'll be honest, I might be overselling it because I don't know if LEC or LCK have a bad pun master, but
yeah, Medic.
LCS had Freak. We have Munch, and you know what, Sheen? We're on 7 days a week. There's no time to keep up with all the leagues in the world. I mean, hell, even Freak, not in LCS anymore, so
yeah,
no,
I was gonna say,
no
I don't think Freak is in LCS anymore.
Back in the day, good times.
Tells you how long we've been here. We've been quite a few years now in the LPL. We are seniors.
That actually doesn't really say much,
league.
considering that I mean, Freak did just swap over this year, right?
True. He's only recently gone, now on the development team, the balance team. I see a lot of people blaming him for things. I don't think he is the direct person who deals with every single balance change.
Let's also give him props, right? Because he still does his his patch note YouTube video.
Oh my
so,
god,
yeah,
those are
if you
so
didn't know,
good.
Freak still breaks down every patch note on his YouTube, where, again, now being part of the Balance team, you even get more insight in terms of what they were thinking. So, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the changes, you're getting transparency from the man. So, you know, it's something I definitely respect quite a bit.
-1. -1. He didn't get it. I don't know what it is. Like, the funny thing is, if you ever look at all the regions, I was crazy, but you can always tell the observer's style. And in LPL, we've just decided that, you know what, anytime someone misses a cannon, we're gonna zoom in and highlight it to like the nth degree, because that's what we need to do.
You know, it also makes you wonder, like, how much, like, the Chinese casters themselves also, like, kind of hone in on that. Maybe even roast the players, but we did have something important happen in the game finally. Herald picked up by TT. No contest is going to come out from RA, and it makes sense, right, because they have been the ones kind of making proactive moves with reset timers having to come out. Did open up a window for Beichuan to be able to pick that one up. Looking across lanes, right, you've been being pressured in top. You potentially could look for mid, but I still think getting gold on the Aphelios would be quite nice when you've already dropped one plate in the bot lane.
And that's the thing, you know, people might be looking at it kind of going like, oh, but you had topside pressure, you shouldn't be giving over that Rift Herald. It was a conscious decision by RA. They wanted the Dragon pressure. They wanted to be able to kind of give Jinx that free lane in the bot side to kind of get back a plate or so after they kind of said, look, we're going for a roam topside, but now the Dragon can be started. And RA are moving in towards this one here. TT kind of half contesting it for the moment. No TP in either top laner. Not challenged right now. It's just save that. We're going to see them go straight in on top of Beichuan. Now Asum can start to get excited. They need to turn back onto the Dragon and finish that particular objective off. But again, we're seeing RA dictating the pace, knowing how they want to fight, and just beautifully executing how they want to take those fights.
And I think TT still just looks so unsure of themselves, because they should have theoretically had an advantage going into that fight, because Yao Yao hit level 6. Feather has just hit level 6 right now, but with them angling forward, UCal not really being, you know, so a part of the play, we're going to see here, like, moving up, the Aphelios isn't here, Charm comes out, and he just gets completely, I wouldn't say bursted, but taken down before. Look at UCal. He got 2 autos in, 1XN finally gets involved in the play. Had they waited a little bit longer, get 1XN in, give time for UCal to get the position he wants, having that one Nautilus ult advantage, I think, would have made a difference in a skirmish this early on.
Absolutely agree. And again, we're seeing it. We saw in the last game as well when TT went for fight, or to try and fight over dragons, and like just weren't fully confirmed with that one. We are going to see the ultimate come out, but it's only going to knock away the Rel. Will surely get to do her favorite thing in the world. I don't think she will, and that feels bad, man.
You know, there are things that feel worse. Game 1, for example.
I never said it was the worst thing in the world. I'm just saying it feels bad, you know?
You're
it's
right.
Like, it's all about perspective as well. You know when like you see a kid and they drop their ice cream, and it's like, to them, that is the worst thing in the world. Like, that is, how could God have allowed such a terrible thing happen to them? But obviously, you know, as you grow older, there are far worse things that can happen than your ice cream dropping.
Like, seeing a kid drop their ice cream actually kind of hurts my soul, you know?
It is a little bit like, oh, my poor boy. Like, or it's just not a fun thing to see. It feels upsetting.
Like whether you're the type of person who like hates children or not, children are like the little untainted versions of ourselves.
Yep.
And the fact that that ice cream was the most important thing in the world, it meant so much. It means a lot to me, as that hook would have meant a lot to Yao Yao. And you know, it's a bit weird to see. It's a bit weird to see Yao Yao being so off of his hook game today, because Yao Yao and his engages are like one of the things that pushed TT into being a playoff team. But today, I mean, who knows? Who knows what's kind of gone on in, you know, the TT training facilities, TT scrim rooms, because whether it's from draft and like the picks and bans that we saw and them banning out Nico Cassante on blue side, or just even small moments like that, it's just TT really look off their game.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is Yao Yao's most played champion in his career. He has 45 games on it. He knows what this champion is, and it just feels, and again, it's not even close as well. It's like 45 and then Rakan at 25, you know what I mean? And then it's Thresh and Leona 24-24. So it's things like this that you're kind of going, you need these kind of setups. We are going to see the Emperor's Divide come in, but this is why the Ahri is pretty safe into something like the Azir, because now your Emperor's Divide is down, and we just kind of lost ourselves a Spirit Rush, which could be up a little bit quicker. As mid lane or bot lane, Asum getting himself another plate. They may go for a dive here. 1xN is very low.
Oh, they're going to be able to find it.
There's the cleanse, the flash, but now he's got nowhere else to be. He's going to get cycloned out, you would imagine, and bonked onto the head. Leyen, though, will sacrifice his life. And honestly, if they trade this back 2-for-1, there's a huge win for TT. Decent damage coming out from the Asum Jinx, but not to be anything more than just his death delayed. And TT finally get themselves on the board with a good proactive roam from UCal.
I mean, they were trying to get the fast play down, right? Like rocket combo after the Rel engage comes through, and had that landed, I think they probably would have been able to get away in a better position, maybe at least one more escape. But still, play ends up in favor of TT. I will say the Gnar did have to use TP, so some things were given to make this play work. But it's right here, Flash coming up right in time after the cleanse comes through to be able to escape. And then look at the minimap, because we know here 1xN's going to go down. But the 3-man roam coming in, the Gnar TP actually does feel a bit like overkill now, seeing it live in the replay. So they do come out better for wear with kills, but the Jack's got a ton of free time up in that top lane with the turret. So you can see only 2 plates left. Yeah. Divine Sunder completed. Hell, across the board. Once again, RA being in the lead with gold, 2K up, which means, you know, 2 Divine Sunders, Everfrost in mid lane, Kraken Slayer picked up on the Jinx, to where we see 1xN still hasn't finished his first item yet.
And again, you know, it's TT. They're either they're hot or they're cold. They're yes or they're no. It's kind of all in or a little bit of Katy Perry. We can all appreciate a little bit of Katy Perry, but it's
are they in and out as well, Lachine?
I mean, potentially. You know, it depends on how you want to look at it. But it's things like that where it's like, you know, in the Dragon Pit, they don't fully commit. And they don't really give themselves any kind of an option to fight. In bot lane, they overcommit. So yes, they do get a positive play of a 2-for-1. But like you mentioned, mid lane got pushed in, top lane got pushed in. All of these things kind of, you know, lean up against you. And now we're going to see potentially Xiaoshu just kind of taking this turret. Does pop down his ultimate to try and jump on the Hoya, who will go into Mega. Dragon was traded back on the back side of this one here, but Xiaoshu doesn't feel afraid. Now that he knows that the jungler was there, yeah, Hoya recognizes, maybe I don't want to go for this fight, and that means mid lane is exposed as well. TT fully committed to that Dragon, but because of that, that means that RA said, cool, go for it. We don't care. We're going to get so much pressure on the rest of the lanes.
I mean, look, right, I was going to say Strive down in bot lane pushing this one out. I love it. Herald in mid, use that pressure to lean up towards top, which extends the amount of time that Xiaoshu has to play with and, you know, get another wave in, while also counter jungling. RA seriously have just looked so much like the better team in the series.
Yep, and Hoya's dead. We will see Leyen getting a fair bit of damage back on top of him. The Ignite is good. Beishuan cannot turn this one around again. Now we see bot lane Strife does get a decent amount of CC to stop UCal from getting anything off of him. Aston is just pushing in mid lane. They're trying so hard, but it's just not sticking.
No. And right, all of the plays they've been finding are answers to, like, I don't even want to say over-aggression, but from RA wanting to win out on the whole map. Because when you're playing how RA is right now, where you're trying to push in top, push in mid, push in bot, all TT have to do is leave one side weak to overload somewhere else to try to punish you. But even that not working to its fullest, maybe it will now.
It might. We're going to see a TP coming in. He drops down the traps probably a little bit too early, and Asum is dead. That's, yeah, you know what? Don't go for Raptors. You probably should have reset. You probably should have finished off your Gale Force, but not to be anything else out of that. Just a little bit of gold back, and that's honestly what TT need. They need little mistakes like that to try and bring themselves back into this game, because they're 5,000 gold down out of nowhere.
And I guess now the question goes to RA of, can they stay disciplined enough? Doesn't need to be full-on discipline. Like, you can give picks like this away, and it really isn't a detriment to your control over the map. But, or are they going to let a little bit loose? Because you don't have as much freedom as you did in last game. Like, there isn't a Azir, there isn't a, you know, an Aphelios, you have a Poppy to peel. If TT start closing the gold lead, they will start winning out in team fights. As we finally see Yao Yao with the max range hook connecting, thank you, League of Legends as a game, because Yao Yao deserved to not be finessed once again. And yeah, we just need to see moments like this not happen too often for the side of RA, because they're still up 5,000 gold.
Yeah, it's not going to mean the biggest difference in the world, but like, I mean, 20 CS in top side, 20 CS in jungle, 10 CS in mid lane, 20 CS in bot lane. Like, these are the advantages that are coming in here for RA, and this is why they're able to kind of be so confident roaming around the map, knowing that they've got basically no pressure from mid lane here from TT because of those 2 towers they're able to take when TT decided to try and trade the dragon.
I do gotta say that I think RA might need to rely on Baron to effectively be able to push this game forward without a big overstep from TT, because, right, with both teams being on only 1 dragon apiece and it being 18 minutes, really no team should be worried about, like, Soul being a deciding factor. And if it does get to a point where Soul's a deciding factor, I think that's where TT will be favorites to win those team fights. So for RA, it's going to be about trying to push into the enemy jungle with side lane pressure from Jax and overloading mid lane with the rest of your members, get deep vision. If TT don't fall prey to that vision and allow picks to come through, RA are going to have to bait Baron, and RA are going to have to try and force TT out of their base that way to start breaking down inhibitors.
We'll see Asim get himself his Gale Force once he resets there. He cleared the wave, got to go up and pick that one up for himself, but now we're still very early on in this game. It's not even 20 minutes, but the map is so exposed here for TT. It's very rare that we see all outers and a tier 2 taken so early on. And we'll see if RA can kind of really push this narrative, push this, you know, kind of idea that they are going to be able to 2-0 this. Because, I mean, a 2-0 here in the grand scheme of like, you know, looking at this playoffs and stuff like that, we are going to see Yukal using his ultimate, but now he doesn't have that available to him. Feather gets knocked back. Beishuan has to flash, and it's this panic. You can see it in them on TT. They're not quite sure what they're doing, where they're going, but RA, cool, calm, and collected, lost nothing and gained everything.
Yeah, just still feeling fine. We'll have to dedicate a TP down to the spot side to stop the push coming out from Hoya. And with Divine Sunder and already, you know, a Call Fields and Kindle Gem in inventory, Shashu's definitely going to feel even more confident about being able to win out through these 1v1s. So, going to keep up with what they've been doing because RA have had the superior vision control all, you know, series long so far. Dragon going to come up in 14 seconds. I would expect TT to just give this one away, which is what it looks like they're going to do with Yukal just pushing even deeper in this top side. But that's what shows even more that I don't know if RA can really just sit on their laurels for the next 10 minutes waiting for, you know, the next 2 Drakes to come up and allow Yukal this free farming.
That's the thing. The longer this game goes, the more we do tend to kind of give TT a better chance. You know, it does feel like little by little, bit by bit, they will start to come back into this. We saw.
You believe in 1xN now, don't you?
I believe in 1xN, especially on the Aphelios, and little things like that. It's just so funny, and it's just, you know, it's funny in a sense of that, like, you know, you always have to keep an eye out for it. There's always those people that kind of go, no, game's over, move on, go next, whatever, blah 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 blah. But
Ashin, were those people?
These champions, I was one of those people, but not anymore. I have seen the light. My faith has been restored into 1xN because those things can happen. This is a human error game, and you know, right now, we've got to see where this team wants to go. I will say Stripe's going straight for damage right now. Got the Cosmic Overdrive to build himself up a little bit more here. And we'll see what TT want to do because they're hovering around this top side, maybe looking to go for a little bit of a fight with the vision control they've garnered around this Baron pit.
Yeah, TT, I like that TT haven't over-pushed or over-aggressed for anything in like the last 5 minutes. They might be doing so now with this vision control because you don't see anyone on the side of RA right now. You're going to see Jinx showing on mid-wave, but you don't see Xiaoshu. You don't see anyone else. Maybe Xiaoshu actually did just walk over wards. So they have a little bit of information. But without complete knowledge, yeah, don't stand around that Baron pit, TT. Back off.
Yeah, not yet. Anyway, you would love that Death Cap to be finished up. You would love the Gale Force to be finished up. These are the 2 big ticket items, and it looks like they should be getting them very, very soon. Now on the resets, RA will garner more control back around this Baron pit, but Rabadon's Death Cap is massive. They now know the Feather and Leanne are sitting here in this brush, so they should not walk into here and get caught.
I think especially now, Gale Force even being finished as well. Going to give a lot of mobility to play with is Hoya.
Oh, he's getting 1v1. The flash, the auto, bonk on the head. Xiaoshu has his number. And now that they see the Azir bot side, they know the Nara's dead. It's going to force out the TP because there's no way they can get an engage. This is so difficult now for the side of TT to defend.
This is a 4v4 for now. Jack's still not here.
Now they're gonna get the double knock up here. They're gonna try and burn him down, but Strive over the wall finds the Nautilus a trade back here. But there's only so much this Emperor can divide. 1xN, I can only believe in you so much, my friend, and that is RA blowing open this game. You said it, Lyric. You wanted to see them go for the Baron to finish it off, and it's exactly what they're gonna do.
Still, I feel like a big problem just being Hoya in that bot lane. The 1v1 coming through. It opens up this play to come out from RA. Once again, we'll give kudos to Xiaoshu for having the killer instinct, kind of like his very first kill, right? Where Hoya tried to throw the boomerang, and Xiaoshu capitalizes by just jumping in and finding the kill. It felt very similar to that. And even the play itself looked very half-hearted, right? He's kind of going in, trying to get a bit of damage out, but it doesn't look like he knows if he wants to full commit or not. Has the ult available, still hasn't committed it just yet. Looks like he wants to use it to disengage, but it's like, you were the one running forward, committing to that fight. Yeah, gives over the kill. Sure, Jack's now has to run across the map, but RA don't have to commit immediately. And we're going to see here Beichuan trying to hit him away. Somehow manages to not do so. And Strive.
Yeah, I was going to say what actually happens there is the Nautilus ultimate knocks him up. And then as the hammer is coming down, and speaking of a hammer coming down, imagine if Xiaoshu had a real weapon, because he is solo bowling everyone around this map. Beichuan looking for a fight, immediately has to flash away. Top lane's under threat, bot lane's under threat, mid lane's under threat. That map is not safe right now for TT, and RA looking like a clean 2-0 for them on the day.
Yeah, RA are coming in so dominant, even despite the hiccups they've had. I mean, just the way they've played the map, the way they've kept up their vision, there have been so many good things we've seen from RA in this series. And Xiaoshu's just going to keep going. Man, I am so happy that Xiaoshu came into the league and we get like another like alpha dominant top laner in the league.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, RA now starting to feel so confident. Bonk, 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 picture in picture, bonk, bonk, bonk. It is just how it works right now. No one can step to him. A flash away as Hoya will go down again. TP coming in here from the Janks. The Jack's going to continue on the bonking. They're going to try and kill off Asum. They will, but a triple kill for him. And that is it. RA stamping down a real marker to say, hey, playoffs is still in our sights.
Exactly. RA now are going to make their way up to 4 series wins. They'll be tied with EDG, Ultra Prime, FPX, this whole big, like, curmudgeon of teams that are still looking for that spot. And now, Ashin, do you believe in Yao Yao?
I do not believe in Yao Yao. It's not what I said.
This
one I'm a little bit more confident in. But RA with the 2-0. Fantastic to see from them. And this is why I was excited for this roster coming into the split. I will say, I will, call myself out and say that I was excited with the addition of Mole, maybe over Strive. But Strive has come leaps and bounds compared to where he was in spring. And this whole top side map, between the mid, the top, and the jungle, just works so exceptionally well here for RA, and it's really coming out good now here in the later half of the split.
Yeah, and I also think it's just a huge benefit that they're able to get their hands on the Ahri. Not to kind of like put Strive in on a box, but he just looks so comfortable on this champion. If you kind of discount Annie, which is his second most played at 6 games, but is only one win, 5 losses, the rest of the champions he's played like once or twice. Ahri, he now has 8 or 9 games of solid, like 60% win rate on, and just really able to deliver. So, working better with the team, roaming on the map, being more comfortable with meta champions in the pool, I think is why we will continue to see Strive. And I mean, hell, even Strive, even before this split, right? Strive was a player that a lot of us were hyped for, like, was having solid performances in the LPL. Yep. Maybe not, top 3, top 4, but you also are in a league with, Rookie, Knight, Yagao, all these monsters.
Xiaohu.
Exactly. But the fact that you can at least the fact that you can at least like contend with a lot of them, like even like when he came in his rookie split, was impressive. And now seeing RA today, the biggest thing for me just was their map play and their cohesion, because that's something I don't feel like RA has had. Because RA has had good players. Like RA are like, you think about like the JDGs and BLGs of the world, but with like the younger rookie talent. They've kind of snatched up all the young, promising, the Strive, Xiaoshu, Assume, Feather, like all these guys super hyped. Then you kind of have Luoyan, who been around longer, but Luoyan, you even think back to, I think it was 2021, summer for RA, where he was looking like a top 3 jungler in the league. Like they have
Honestly,
the talent.
like, yeah, the first 7 series for 2021 summer for Leyen was like, oh my god, this guy's insane. Like genuinely one of the best junglers. Unfortunately, didn't stand at that time, but now coming back really does feel like this kind of, roster is coming out. And it's great to see as well because there's always a question about, is a player worth it for the long run? You think of like legacy players like Hacker and iBoy and stuff like that. And you kind of think to yourself, it's like, maybe is there going to be someone who can maybe do the same thing, if not more? And RA have committed 100% to say, look, we are bringing in young talent, new guys that we feel can make a difference. And they are like 4 and 6 now, and their game score is only -1. That is huge because if you look at some of the people around them with the kind of similar win scores, -2 for Edward Gaming, -5 for Ultra Prime, -3 for FBX, they will, if they end up all on the same kind of score line, leapfrog all of these guys.
I like that you bring up the -1 point because 4 and 6 and then looking at a team being 12th in the standings sounds pretty dire, but they are almost exactly at a 50% win rate, right? They are almost exactly 50-50 with the league right now. Hell, even like much better, like better than teams above them. Better game record than Ultra Prime, better game record than EDG. I tied up with NIP despite the fact that they have, one more series loss. So I definitely think the hope is still there for RA. Xiaoshu, in my mind, is still always going to be the player that I'm most hyped to see on this RA roster. Just with, man, he just looks like he doesn't care at all. He doesn't care about anything going on around him, and he is still slapping everyone. Oh, Hoy is standing in his fishing spot at level 1? Xiaoshu ain't having that.
That is
running
my
him down.
fishing spot. You got it in game 1. I'm getting it in game 2. That's not happening that way. But I mean, like looking towards for RA as well, I'm excited to see where this roster can go. They got AL later on this week. They've got top esports, which honestly could be a win with all the amount of, kind of teams that are being taken down right now. We'll have to wait and see. But we're going to send it over to Christina for the winner's interview.
Hello there, welcome to Post-Game Interview. I'm Christina. We're joined by Assume, the ball leader for Rare Atom. Congratulations on your 2-0 victory. Actually, I want to start with the game 1 because you guys did a perfect job, especially in early game. How did you guys manage to snowball the game very quickly, especially in early game? You got so many kills and your jungle controlled the game pace very well. 欢迎 Assume 选手来到我们的赛后采访。恭喜 RA 在今天的比赛当中2-0获得了比赛的胜利。那么我们想从第1局开始聊一下。其实，在第1局前期的时候，队伍就很完美的滚起了节奏嘛。想问一下，第1局你们能够在前期的一个大概的设计是怎么样的呢？
第1局前期的设计就是，因为我们下路那种组合比较强势，就纯2v2的话，我们打对面是很好打的，然后就做好眼防一下对面波比 gank， 然后让猴子到6级，这把游戏就很好。
So first of all, we got very aggressive body for us, and as long as we can farm to level 6, and we can actually get so many leads. That as long as we take a lot of 2v2 fights, we can get kills. And besides, we also need to manage the vision very well. And yes, you did a really great job on this part. And coming to game 2, you got Jinx and Roll, this body. Coming to this meta, Roll has adjusted a little bit. So what do you think of this sport, this sport champion, especially in the LPL stage as an engaging sport? Maybe will the role be popular here? 那么接下来想问一下，在第2局的时候，我们这边下路选出了金克斯和瑞尔的组合嘛？想问一下，你会觉得瑞尔这个英雄在经过他的中型调整之后，会在赛场当中，特别是在我们 LPL 的赛场当中，有一个怎样的表现呢？
感觉瑞尔重做之后，感觉容错率比之前高了很多，就打这些 info 还是挺好用的。
I do think it will, since he has adjusted. I think this is a good champion because if as long as he do not make mistakes, it also can be acceptable. Maybe you can make errors in game, but this will not cause a very big problem to the result of the game. And I do think it will be a very strong champion here. And I want to touch on the patch 13.12 overall a bit, and I feel I have seen a lot of virus body occur here, including like the Driven, this kind of aggressive champions, also Philius, Twistana. So overall, what do you think of this meta, especially in terms of the bowling? 那么想问一下，接着我们继续说到版本的问题嘛？除了瑞尔之外，最近的赛场当中，我们看到了非常多的下路组合，大家好像都在尝试一些新东西，包括像激进的德莱文，然后传统的大河的菲琉斯，甚至小炮这样的英雄都有选出嘛。那么阿苏姆作为一个下路选手，你觉得在这个版本会是什么样的下路生态环境呢？
就是什么都能玩，然后看就 AD 选手更擅长什么吧。可能 有的 AD 就比较擅长这些大核英雄，然后我的话可能就是德莱文这些玩的也玩的很多，就看选择吧，看队伍的 BP 需要什么就玩什么。
Actually, I do think there are various champions available you can play. It just depends on each player. You know, like some players are very good at if you use this kind of AD carry, hyper AD carry champions, and I play driven very well. And it's just according to your very signature champs and according to your team's needs in draft. And the final question for you, you got another wins. Congratulations again. So what do you think of team's form overall? It seems that you guys adapt to this new meta very well. Are you confident of upcoming matchups in regular season？ 那么其实今天的比赛当中，我们可以看到 RA 展现了很好的竞技状态，并且感觉队伍好像适应新版本的速度还是很快的。所以你觉得最近队伍围绕这些方面有做什么准备吗？对接下来常规赛的比赛有信心吗？
就运营方面，感觉今天做的跟之前确实有点不一样，运营的比较好。后面也希望能就像今天这样子，感觉还是有一点信心的。
Actually, for today's performance, I do think we did a better job in micro aspect and we have improved a lot. And in upcoming matchups, if we can play as macros what we did in today's matchup, I do think we are very confident of upcoming matchups. Thank you so much for joining us. 谢谢阿苏，我们来到我们的赛后采访。Back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Christina, and a great insight as always getting in from the players. And I like that little last question as well because, you know, kind of saying, look, yeah, we definitely play better micro. We have the moves. We got ourselves just kind of like adding to the point that we were saying. It's like they now know and believe that they can make these moves happen if they do it correctly. And the fact that they had done it correctly today shows that the ceiling is definitely there. They have the potential to make these things happen and execute on them properly.
Yeah, they really do. And, you know, right before we were getting into that, you're kind of talking about their upcoming schedule. AL, WE, NIP, a lot of teams that they're able to take down. And a lot of it's going to be because of the man who got the MVP. I think a very fairly given MVP shout to. We were talking about it. This guy doesn't care, does whatever he pleases, really encompasses the spirit of